afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing to spend your afternoon here with us. For those who don't know, I'm Patricia Ogan-Faber, and I do a podcast show to help people maximise property values. It's called Maximising Property Values, and it's on your popular platforms. Now, if you tap on the link that I've put above, you'll be able to see some of the ones that it's on. If yours isn't showing, just let me know if you're interested in subscribing to the show, and I will submit it to that so that you can get it regularly. That, however, normally when I talk is a monologue, and I release my podcast, so my monologue podcast, once a month, every month, on the first day of the month. But since November, I've been having some lovely, lovely guests to join me here on Clubhouse, where we do the recording and it's then released as a podcast the following week. So the one that I'm doing with Jason today will be released as a podcast on Wednesday coming, but it will be on Clubhouse in the meantime. And my guest today, as you can see, is Jason Patterson. So let's get to know Jason even more today. So, who is Jason? Jason is a property investor from London who specialises in purchasing leasehold flats and flats with short leases. Jason, welcome to Maximising Property Values. But before we go into your property activities, I've got your questions for you. So, nobody ever knows what questions I'm going to ask them. And it gives me so much pleasure to have people think, oh my gosh, what's she asking me? Anyway, here are yours. They're usually easy questions, so nothing to fear if you've not already been on and you are going to come on and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what's she going to ask me? Anyway, your first question is this: how do you most like spending your time? So neither of your questions can relate to property. So how do you most like spending your time and why? And your second question is, how do you least like spending your time? And again, why? Over to you, Jason.
All right. Afternoon, everyone. So, what do I like doing most? All right, it's one of two things. I'm more of a maths geek. So, um, I love teaching maths basically. So anything to do with like Pythagoras, trigonometry, algebraic equations, calculus, differentiation, integration. A lot of my time sounds geeky, but I like doing maths in my spare time. So sometimes, obviously, I get paid for it as well because I do a bit of maths tuition. But because I'm just doing it randomly, I might as well just get paid for it. So I'm more of a maths person. And then probably to do with um, another thing, probably gym. I like going to the gym. So the gym, when you're an entrepreneur and you're used to being in employment, that social aspect changes. So we know we go into work sometimes and when you're talking about a new topic, could be political, could be football related, could be, I don't know, anything. But now you're solo, you don't really get that social experience of going into work and then talking to others. So when you go to the gym's like maybe work or school basically. Go there, obviously you do a workout, you socialize, you meet other entrepreneurs as well, and it obviously is good for your mindset and good for your body. So probably those are the most, or the two things I like doing most. But we doing maths and going to the gym. So least, that's a tough one. Least, I'm not sure about that one actually. What I like doing least, hmm, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll let you off. I'll let you off. So, maths geek, oh my goodness. And there I was, Jason, thinking that we have got so much in common. Um, because you've done shelf stacking, which I used to do at night because they used to pay an amazing rate when I was at college. And you do property as well, which I do, and you do short leases. You love short leases, which I also love. But maths, oh my gosh, no, I am so not a figures person. So, yep,
Yeah, I know what you
there.
mean. Yeah, exactly. When you used to work in the supermarket on a night shift, it was like double time, right? Or time
Oh,
and a half.
double.
And if you
It was
worked
double, wasn't it?
double time,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And sometimes I used to do the day shifts, and then if you did it after peak, yeah, off peak, like 7 o'clock onwards, then you get like time and a half. And then if you worked a Sunday, then you get double pay. So that's why I didn't mind working in supermarkets originally, because sometimes we used to do night shift on a Saturday night, and then you'd get the normal pay, and then you get the night shift rate, and then it goes into Sunday and get double pay. So those kind of shifts, them suicide shifts, helped me to stack for some property deals. But yeah, got quite a few things in common.
Do you know, I so remember that. I only ever used to do the night shift. And I remember, I think it was the Sainsbury's on North End Road in W14. And I used to love it because of the money. And, you know, being a student, I was never taxed. So all of that money just went into my bank account. And oh, yeah, good days, good days, good days. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I was in
math.
Camden, not far from me. Sainsbury's in Camden. That's
Oh,
small world, small world. But go
you
on,
know,
continue.
this is one of the things that I say to my children. I say, because I've got grown up children, and I say, do you know, guys, whatever you do, it doesn't matter as long as you're working towards an end. Um, because I've been a waitress in the past, and I've done, like, you know, we're talking about now. I've done, you know, stacking of shelves, in, you know, and I've done all manner of things. But you see, what you do doesn't define you, and how you start your race doesn't define you. It's, you know, how much you and how well you do it. And, you know, often, you know, really young people will look at older people, which I'm not saying you, I'm, you know, talking really older people, and they'll think, oh, do you know, so and so's got this and they've got that, but they don't know their story and they don't know their history, and they don't know what that person used to do when they were their age. So yeah, I love it when people are real. So let's get into property now. Let's start talking about property.
Sorry,
So
1 minute. I've been told I'm a bit low, so this happened before. So I'm gonna leave the room and then jump back in, and then hopefully my volume will be higher.
okay, great stuff.
Yeah.
Jason, let's try that again.
I might. Can you hear me all right?
Oh my goodness, what a
A lot
difference.
clearer. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a glitch in the system.
Oh, right. You see, I didn't know that. Because I often get people messaging me to say, you know, your voice is quite low. But I have a soft voice, I've been told. Um, and I just think, oh, well, do you know, that is my voice. And I try and kind of like shout a bit. And then I didn't realize there was a glitch. Oh, okay, lovely. I see, I've learned something new today. Right. So we're going to start talking about property. So we both share a love. Well, all of us in the room, I guess, share a love of property. But you talk to us about yours and what you do, and, you know, flats and, you know, short leases. I am just so looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Um, so talk to us, Jason. Talk to us. Give us a case study. Tell us what you. Okay, actually, let me make it easier. Why don't you talk to us about your last deal? Break it down completely, and, you know, tell people the ups and the downs, you know, if there were any, and, you know, why you are into this as much as you are.
All right. Yeah. So the last deal. Actually, I'll tell you the one before that. So basically, during lockdown one, I completed on one in March 2020, April 2020, and one in June 2020. I mean, I've completed one in August 2021, but I haven't done the lease extension for that one yet. So I'd go back one step to 2020, and I go through one of those deals. So basically, my usual remit is to purchase flats in North London. And then lately, as people know, I've been doing or purchasing a lot of flats with low leases. And when I say low leases, normally they're between 60 and 80 years in terms of lease length. So those ones are the ones that I find give you the best return in terms of making between 40 and about 50k uplift after you've extended the lease. So those ones are the ones that I generally look for. I may start looking at ones below 60 years, but for now, at the moment, I've just been going for ones between 60 years and 80 years because it gives me 40 to 50k worth of uplift. I mean, that's roughly about 20 to 25% in terms of percentage ROI. So if you, like I said, if you do 2 or 3 of them a year, then that's a nice 100k or 150k into your pocket for not really doing much, apart from just signing a few papers. So yeah, generally, I go for a normal buy-to-let mortgage. You put down 25% deposit, which is 75% loan to value. Now, my current strategy is normally I go for like a 2-year fixed deal. I know, like yourself, you go for a variable rate, so you can take out the money within or after 6 months on average. Or some people go for bridging, so you can extract the cash after you've extended the lease. But at the moment, because I don't really need the cash straight away, I just go for 2-year fix, which is what I normally do now. And the common lenders that I generally go to, you've got places or companies like you've got Keystone, the mortgage lender, Kensington, Foundation Home Loans, Land Bay, Capital Home Loans, Bank of India, West One, NatWest. You've got so many different lenders that do it. And a lot of them, apart from NatWest and Capital Home Loans, a lot of them say to you that the lease length at the end of the term of a mortgage cannot be lower than 50 years. So that's the remit of most of them. NatWest have a different remit. Their minimum lease term is 30 years. So you could get a normal buy-to-let mortgage with NatWest, and at the end of the mortgage term, the lease cannot be lower than 30 years. So that's a special deal with NatWest. Similar with Capital Home Loans, I think their one was about 40 years. So those two are special, but everyone else, the lease length have to be 50 years at the end of the mortgage term. So basically what I've done, I've gone for a 75% loan to value, 2-year fixed. This was with Foundation Home Loans. Yeah, so this particular one was 64 years on it, I think it was. Yeah, 64-year lease. Purchased for 155,000. This was during lockdown 2020. 1-bedroom flat in North London. Luckily, in this particular block, I had the one upstairs from this, and I've extended the lease on this before, so I know exactly how much it will cost to extend the lease. There's not much research in that area. So this lease extension costs about £15,466 to extend the lease by an additional 90 years on top of the 64 years what it is now. I had to pay for the freeholders solicitors, which was 1,100 plus VAT. And then I also had to pay for my solicitors, which cost £800. And I had to pay for their surveyor, which was quite expensive. It's about £1,000 for their surveyor to go around and analyse the property or survey the property. So all in, probably about £3,000-ish worth of fees and survey fees. That came up to about 18 grand, roughly, or 19 grand if you include the lease extension. So 19 grand for that. I mean, the 155 purchase price, that came in at about 174-ish in total. I mean, the end value of this one at the time, I calculated it at around 220,000. So that one would have brought me in about 46k worth of uplift for that particular deal. But that same flat now, in the same block, they're going for about 235. So really, that's an extra 10, 15 grand on top of what it was in 2020. So I've had capital appreciation and I've had an uplift from the lease extension. So at the time, it would have been about 46k worth of uplift, but now I think it's about 60k worth of uplift because I haven't taken any money out of that one. That one's quite a good deal. But yeah, so overall with that one, the return, the ROI that I was getting was about 29.8% uplift, which was good. And I always aim for between 20 and 25% if I can. So that one was quite a good deal, that one. Because again, prices have been squeezed a bit because prices have increased. But what I found is lease extension premiums they don't really go up. they stayed the same. The only way back they go up is if the ground rent, obviously, if lease length goes down, bit by bit, then yeah, the actual lease extension cost will go up. But the lease extension actual cost, the premium, does not change or rise with inflation, which is good. So just something to think about when you're moving forward. Yeah, that's like a typical deal, basically. Normal rate. This one was, what was it? I think it was like 2.59%. I think it was what I said. Yeah. So, but yeah, typical deal. I mean, if you want to, you can extract the cash out of that and then go on. But I've just left it in there because I've got, this year, I've got about 11 product switches to sort out. I've done some already. And then there's more. So we need the cash straight away. So I just leave it in there. End of the 2-year deal fixed. I've got the option of either taking it out or just renewing my deal. Yeah, that's like a typical deal, basically.
Oh, that sounds really, really, really nice. Really, really nice. Um, Now, looking at the fees, you know, a lot of people don't really think about the fees. And have you found, you know, when you're actually dealing, when you're doing these? So, actually, before I ask that question, was this a statutory increase? So, did you go down the Section 42 route, or was it an informal route?
Informal route. I've done about maybe 3 or 4 Section 42s there, but generally I like to contact the freeholder myself. So with this case, when I was purchasing it, I asked my solicitor to ask the freeholder, because we always contact them for the ground rent anyway. Asked them if I was allowed to extend the lease before owning the flat for 2 years. When they wrote back with the ground rent information, which you requested as part of the searches, and they said yes. Once you complete, you can extend the lease without on the property for 2 years, which was fine. So I done that. I could have served the Section 40 notice initially, but I just like to do it voluntary. So I got the keys. Waited maybe I don't know. I think it was about a month or two. Yeah, during lockdown. And then just wrote a letter to the freeholder. Said to them, yeah, I'm a new owner of Garton's Close. Will you be willing to give me a quote for a 99-year or to a 99-year lease extension, 125-year lease extension, 90 years above what it is now, plus peppercorn ground rent. This one I can't buy the freehold to, but I'll talk about that later. But they wrote back to me and said, yes, we'd be willing to extend the lease. And they gave me premiums for each of those to 99 years, to 125 years, and to 90 and 90 years above what it is now, plus peppercorn ground rent. And then I chose the one which is 90 years above what it is now with peppercorn ground rent. And they didn't try and fleece me or anything, because when you deal with large companies and you're extending the lease, a lot of them may try and inflate the price. But if you're dealing with smaller companies or individuals, they're more realistic with their prices. So when they wrote back and said, yeah, it's going to cost you like 15,000, this and that, I said, yeah, that's fine. That's reasonable. There's no room for negotiation here. They just accepted it and then it went through. So within about 2.5 months, it went through. So the longest part generally is the negotiation between yourself and the freeholder if you do the voluntary route. And this one took about it took just a couple of weeks, because just for the letters to come back and forth by email. And then after that, I got my solicitor involved. So I asked Jan if she'd represent me in terms of doing the lease extension. She said yes. Then once your solicitor writes to their solicitor, you have 3 months to complete the lease extension. And then after that 3 months, if you don't complete within those 3 months, then that offer that they've given you is invalid. They can always change that afterwards. So, but within about 6 weeks, it was fine. In Jan sent up the documentation towards land registry, so that's completed. So that particular one took about 2 months really in terms of going through. The 2 weeks to negotiate, only because of emails. I don't really want to take their emails much. And then 6 weeks worth of paperwork, and then she sent off to land registry, so it was done within about 2 months. So, but yeah, that's the general system.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Okay, that's really, really fantastic. Since you like figures, let me put you on the spot. Do you want to explain to people where the uplift comes from? Because it's guaranteed, isn't it? Every single time. Literally guaranteed. You know, no matter what, you are going to get an uplift if you buy a short lease. So we're talking about today. So we are in April 2022. If somebody's listening to this next year in 2023, the law may have changed. But as of today, April 13th of April 2022, you are guaranteed an uplift. Do you want to tell people how that works and why it is that you are definitely guaranteed an uplift?
Well, yeah, with the ones that I buy, yeah, the ones in central London might be a bit different because them ones are six-figure uplifts. But yeah, the law is going to be changing, or the act's coming in June 2022 in relation to the ground rent. Might diverge a little bit off, but what was happening is a lot of should I say big companies like Wimpy, Barclay Homes, like Fairview Homes, all the big national house builders. Not all of them, but some of them were building houses with leases on them. So they weren't freehold houses; they were leasehold houses. I mean, they were attaching ground rents to them at the time. So when they know that you get help to buy schemes or shared ownership, etc., etc. So people were buying houses and then having a lease attached to them as well. So their original ground rent might have been like £100 initially, and then what the companies would do, they would package them up and then sell them on to other companies, and then those new companies would up the ground rent to maybe £150 or £200, etc., etc. And then what would happen is, or what has happened basically, some of these homeowners, house owners, have become mortgage prisoners because the ground rents have doubled or tripled or just increased so much. I mean, a lot of these lenders don't like when the ground rent is super high. And plus, if the ground rent is going up and up and up, that's obviously eating into the person's disposable income because you've got high energy bills already, you've got your main mortgage. Now the ground rent's going up bit by bit by bit. Some mortgage companies were saying no, that we're not going to give you any new mortgage products, so we can't renew a deal. Then they'll go on to a variable rate. So just for argument's sake, if they're paying £600 for their new house, leasehold house it is, and then going into a variable rate, that might increase to £900 or £1,000 a month, just because they can't move over to another lender or another mortgage product. That's causing a lot of issues. The government's decided to stamp it out, or try and stamp it out, and say that from June 2022, all new leases will be given or come with peppercorn ground rent, which means zero ground rent. So it doesn't apply to the current ones, like the ones I've got, ones that you got, and people in the audience. But when you renew your lease next, the government will say will activate this after June 2022. Then you should officially get zero or peppercorn ground rent when you extend your lease premium next. And then that applies to some of the houses, obviously, as well. But the way it works is, like, for example, like I said before, with some of these, you might get it for 160 or 170, and then what generally, this is like a general idea of how it works. Say your ground rent is £100 a year, and you've got like 66 years left on that lease. Now, 66 years times £100 a year is 6,600. So effectively, you're going to be paying, or the freeholder is owed, £6,600 for the remainder of you owning that property if you were to give back to them afterwards. So what's going to happen now is there's no more ground rent. So what some of them will probably do is try and maybe incorporate a little bit of the ground rent into the lease extension premium just to boost it up a little bit. But I've got to read the technicalities of the law to see what obviously will happen. But yeah, in general, a lot of these properties are below their standard value with a good lease. But yeah, it's always going to be an uplift. Always going to be an uplift, like what Patricia says. But again, always look for like 20 to 25% uplift in terms of that sense. But what I've noticed recently as well, some of them, they've tried to put the price or the property on the market for the price which is not too far below the current market rate, even though it's got a lease extension to be done. So some of them are trying to fleece people as well in that sense. But yeah, in general, you buy the property, you extend the lease, and then you should leave yourself some leeway in terms of a profit. So similar to the BRR strategy, but it's the paper version of doing it. But yeah, waffled a little bit, but yeah.
Do you know, Jason, we should do a room together where we can go into the nitty gritty of all these things and talk about relativity, talk about marriage value, talk about all of those things and really, really, really go into it. And I was just going to add, really, that another thing that the lenders don't tend to like is the fact that with the high ground rents, it puts their security within the realms of Section 1 of the Housing Act 1988, and makes them assured tenancies. And if anything is an assured tenancy, anywhere else 750 per annum. If that money is owing for the periods in the Housing Act, then the freeholder can actually get possession. And under Section 8 of the Housing Act, if the grounds are made out, then the court has no leeway. They have to grant possession, and that lenders just don't like that, and rightly so. Because if you lend someone, let's say for instance, £1 million on a flat, and for some reason they forget to pay their ground rent, which is £2,000 per annum, and it's in London, that makes it an assured tenancy, and the freeholder can actually get possession of that £1 million flat or £2 million flat, whatever, just because the £2,000 ground rent has not been paid at a certain rent. In London, 1,500 per annum. Anywhere else, 750. Bit of a nightmare. So, like you said, I just really, really hope that they sort it out regarding existing leases, because that isn't what the Housing Act, I guess, even thought about doing when it did that. But it's also a bit surprising that they've not chosen to address that directly in the Leasehold Reform Ground Rent Act of 2022. They've just left it out. Anyway, we'll do a technical room and we can go into all of those things. You can do the numbers. I
Yeah,
can
that's
try and
fine.
do
Yeah,
the
that'd be
law.
good. Nice combo.
Oh,
No, definitely.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so you've spoken to us about one of the ones that you did in 2020. Um, how about another one? We've all been waiting to just pick your brains on this, Jason. And in fact, I had someone this morning in another room that I was in saying, "Oh yes, Jason inspired me, and I'm now looking at doing, 2 flats." And that was it was so heartwarming. And I said, yes, I've been looking forward to talking to him as well. So, Jason, talk to us about another one. Talk to us.
Yeah, so I've bought another one. It's a 2-bed flat. Again in Enfield. This one, the lease was, I think, 62 years. This one I did, actually, again, it was voluntary. It wasn't Section 42 notice. So I went to the freeholder. Again, I've asked them to quotes for a 99-year or to 99-year lease, 125 years, and 90 years plus peppercorn ground rent. And then they came back with a figure of, I think it was 22,000. But I know from local knowledge and experience that that was a bit too high. It's a big company, by the way. I mean, so I thought, all right, we were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they weren't budging. So I had to get my lease extension surveyor involved, Andrew, and then he went round there and he produced a 22-page report on the lease extension premium. His figure, he's been doing it for over 30 years, so he knows the properties and the system inside out. So whenever there's a dispute between yourself and the freeholder, in terms of the premium, then he is a good person um, to to act or to use. He's based in North London, in Finchley. He's like a professional. He's my secret weapon. So yeah, so I brought him involved. He produced a report, and then what he did was he sent that report over to the freeholder, and then also to the surveyor, and then I received a letter back stating, "Oh, we've spoken to your surveyor, etc., etc. We've decided to give you a lease extension premium of, again, I think it was like 16,500 or something like that. This was like a 2-bed flat." So I was quite happy with that. So even though I paid him £700 plus VAT to do the lease extension report, overall we might save me personally about 4 or 5 grand just towards the next deal. So it's worth getting someone like that involved if there's a dispute between yourself and the freeholder. I've never had one where I went to a tribunal before, but I think that's more to do with the bigger ones, like in central London, where they cost 5 or 6 figures to extend the lease. But then if there's a big dispute, then the tribunal might get involved. But for these smaller ones, which are like 20 grand, 25 grand, 16 grand, 15 grand, you should be able to sort it out between yourself and the freeholder going forward. And also, I'll tell you about another one. Sometimes it's a mixture. I buy some above flats, above shops, sorry. I buy some above, well, some conversions, which are house conversions. Used to be a flat, used to be a house, sorry, and I turned it into 2 separate flats. And I also buy some purpose-built ones as well. So with the conversions, on 5 separate occasions, I managed to buy the freehold from those freeholders. So, but I first got the idea about, let me just tell you about this first, actually, the lease extensions. Back in the day, I had about, I think maybe 8 or 9 mortgages with Birmingham Midshires and BM Solutions. And then the credit crunch hit, and then they started just to change their system. And I think they reduced the number of buy-to-let mortgages that they offered at the time to maybe 3 or 4. I think I had loads of them at the time. So what they did, they said, right, you can stay with us, but you can't do any additional borrowing. So I said, oh, that's fine, because at the time, the base rate was dropping, and my variable rate, I moved on to variable rate, and I was only paying like 0.99 above the base rate. So I was paying like peanuts. So that's why I decided to stay with them, but I couldn't take out any cash. And then I waited a few years, and maybe in 2000 and I can't remember what year it was, but I changed some of them over to TMW, which is the Mortgage Works. And then with a surveyor, he came around with me to 4 of my properties because I moved 4 of them over to TMW. And then he said to me, 3 of them are fine, but this 4th one here, the lease is quite low. It's 71 years. So we can't give you the full 30 grand out of that property. But what we can give you, we'll give you, I think, 10. They'll probably give you 10 at the moment. But then the other 20, if you do want it, you're going to have to extend the lease, inform TMW, then TMW will obviously update their system, their desktop valuation, and then we can release the other 20 grand to you. But that won't happen until you extend the lease. So I thought, okay. So I thought that's when the idea came into my mind, first of all, about uplift in terms of lease extensions. So that same property, I purchased it like a while ago with short lease, as you know, but I didn't really know about short leases then. And then when I went to the freeholder to extend the lease, again, the usual, 99 years, 125 years, 90 years above what it is now, I also put in, will you be willing to sell me the freehold? And then the freeholders come back and said, yes, we'll be willing to sell you the freehold, or yourself and the flat above, upstairs, a freehold, if you want to do it jointly. So I contacted the person upstairs and said, yeah, the person is willing to sell us the freehold. We can either do it joint, or I'll just buy it for myself, and then I can be your freeholder. So we did it joint. and then that one went through. So now the freeholder of that building, and we also own obviously the lease. So I extended the lease. Both of us did, top floor and ground floor. We extended it to 999 years, and with a nil fee, because the solicitor will ask you, do you want to put a price beside your premium? But we just said no, because it's not worth it. We're freeholders now anyway. And so we purchased a freehold to that building, which was all right. I did that like on 5 separate occasions. Every time I buy a conversion now, and it's got a short lease on it, I always put in like a cheeky line saying, will you be willing to sell us or sell me the freehold? And 5 separate occasions, they've said yes, bought the freehold, and then now obviously we're freeholders. So yeah, that worked out all right. Also, the ones I used to offer a lot as well back in the day, the shops or flats above shops, but I've always said no. I've always said nah, it's not for me. But then, like Daniel was like, yeah, come on, just have a look at it. You can reconfigure it. It's nice in there. Blah, blah, blah. So I've done that. This one, first one was above a barber shop. So I went in there, had a look around. Yeah, it's quite a big space. He said, yeah, if what we could do, you can move the kitchen into the front room, and then turn that kitchen into a bedroom. So I measured up, checked some of the walls, if it's plasterboard or load bearing walls, etc., etc. I mean, that first gave me the idea of reconfiguring flats above shops, which is quite a good idea because a lot of the time the freeholders for the shops are commercial, so they're fine with it a lot of the time because the shops downstairs do a lot of reconfiguring anyway to suit their business. So upstairs it makes it a lot easier just to reconfigure it with their permission. So things like that. That's where the triple threat came in. What I call a triple threat. So you can got a short lease. You can reconfigure it from 1 bed to a 2 bed or 2 bed to a 3 bed, and you can also do a refurb, a BRR. So them ones you can basically get all of your money back out in, because if it's a triple threat like that, there's 3 different ways technically they can add value. Yeah. So you add another bedroom and within the legal requirements. You're doing a refurb on it, and you're also extending the lease. So them ones, you can definitely pull out all of your money in most cases, and then you can just obviously go again after that. But yeah, so those are the main 3 types. So purpose built, flats above shops, and conversions. That's what I look for going forward.
Whoa. Do you know, Jason, you are sharing so much. But now, if people, and I'm going to come back to a point, so actually remind me if I forget, I want to talk about retentions. Um, if people want to get in touch with you, so I find that the club, this app, is very, very selective as to what it allows you to pin. So it's not allowing me to pin your YouTube link or any of the links that you've actually provided to me. I don't know whether or not you can do that so that people know how to get in touch with you. Otherwise, if you can actually just tell people how they can get in touch with you, because some people are not, they're going to listen to this after the room, so they won't have the benefits of the links anyway. But if you can just tell people how best to get in touch with you, that will be really helpful. So if you don't mind doing that.
Yeah. So I'm available on Facebook. Just type in Jason Patterson. It should come up hopefully. On Instagram, I've only been on Instagram maybe less than 2 years because people always say, "Oh, go on Instagram, go on Instagram." I'm like, can't be bothered. But now I'm on there, so I've been on there probably less than 2 years. So my code for that or my tag for that is a long one anyway. It's at J underscore P underscore P underscore 21. So that's my Instagram handle. Recently joined TikTok as well. So that one's Jason Patterson 365. I'm on LinkedIn. Again, just type in Jason Patterson and I should be on there straight away. Well, common name anyway, but it should be on the list. But yeah, those are the main ones that I'm on. Oh yeah, obviously the YouTube channel is posted up on the link above. With sometimes we do Zoom sessions with like Damon and Ricky and Leon and Niraj from back in the day. And then this was just one of the ones because a lot of people were asking about the figures. So obviously you're on audio on Clubhouse, but then sometimes it's better to see the figures visually. So now and again, we just do Zoom sessions on certain figures. When you see them visually, it's easier to understand and take in. So I just posted the link up there. So every now and again, some of the podcasts that I do or some of the Zoom sessions, I'll just put onto the YouTube channel. So everything's just there all in one place. Because if you get a lot of messages from Instagram or LinkedIn, so how do you do it or what the figures involved, I just post on that link and then everything's on there. So it makes it a lot easier and moving forward.
Oh, thank you, Jason. And thank you for posting this link. So, for people who might be listening after the room, so they won't be able to see this, as you said, what you do is go to YouTube and you can search for this. So, the title is Short Lease Properties Masterclass hyphen Clubhouse Meet. So that's Short Lease Properties Masterclass hyphen Clubhouse Meet. And if you just type that into YouTube, it should bring the session up. So that's really, really good. So when you were talking, Jason, about the mortgage works and how they were a bit like reticent to lend the full value on the short lease, it reminded me of retentions. I think retentions have more or less disappeared now. But I remember when, back in the day, like you said, back in the day for me, it's going to be different to your back in the day, no doubt. But in my back in the day, um, if you wanted to borrow money, for a house, the surveyor could go round and say, well, actually, you need a new roof, and that will cost maybe like £10,000. You're looking to borrow £100,000 from us, so we will lend you £90,000. And once you've done, once you've got your new roof, come back to us and we'll give you, the £10,000. They don't do that anymore, do they? They just say yes or
No.
no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Like rules have changed now. So like, different systems. Even like Kent Reliance used to do next day remortgages, that kind of thing. That's all changed now. So it's always changing, always changing. And soon the affordability checks might change like soon as well. But I think because of inflation and because of high energy bills, I think they were going to loosen it. I think they might even tighten it again. So things are always changing, like on a weekly basis. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, it really is, isn't it? And the thing is, I can reminisce, till the cows come home about the good old days. Like you say, next day remortgaging. I remember even how you'd just say to them, do you know, I'd like a further advance. And they used to say, okay, fill out the form. And like you say, the next day, the money will be in your bank account. There was nothing like, no valuations, nothing. I think they used to call them drive-bys, which today they now call desktops. But
Yeah,
nobody
that's it.
went there.
True desktop valuations. Yeah. It's all changed. Now some of them are different. Like even some of them still do that, but not as many. Not as many. But what I like about TMW is when you do your product switches, on the form they give you the desktop valuation of what the property value is at the moment, which is good. And they list all your products online, but you can just choose bit by bit by bit. With some of the basically when you have above 20 properties, for example, um, you can't always use the traditional high street lender or the normal lenders. That's when all the other ones come in, like Land Bay, Capital Home Loan, Foundation Home Loans, a mortgage lender, etc. Then their systems are a bit different. So we're going for some of these short leases, like Kensington. Kensington are fine in terms of product switches. So when their deal finishes after 2 years, they will allow you to renew with them, which is good. Keystone, at the time, they were piloting their product switch range. So at the moment, if you wanted to go back with them after your 2-year fix, for example, you'd have to reapply for a mortgage before they'd give you another like term with them. The mortgage lender, again, they will not allow you to do a product switch. So you have to reapply to them if you want to continue with them. Foundation home loans are quite good. What they've done or do is they'll write to you, offer you what rates they have, and then you have to say whether you're looking to continue with them or not. And then you can't do it yourself. You have to go to your broker then your broker will put the details through to them, and then Foundation Home Loans will contact you and say, have you given your broker permission to act on your behalf? And I have to say yes. And a broker will continue the process, and then the product switch can happen. So that's a bit of a long-winded process, but it's happened. It works. Land Bay, again, they were in the infancy in terms of product switches, so you couldn't renew with them, do a product switch. You'd have to reapply to them again, and then there always a chance that they can say no. Same with Capital Home Loans. So a lot of these specialist lenders, when you have like over 20 properties, they see like as more of a risk. So then they start, I don't know, putting all these restrictions in place and so forth. But if you're first starting out, then it should be fine, because people like I said, NatWest, TMW, their minimum term like 70 years, so that should be fine. All them other ones are fine to do product switches with, but some of the other ones, there's a lot of restrictions involved, and they're likely to be geared, if possible, the lower the better. Like with most of mine at the moment, I'm geared probably around about 55% ish. Yeah, about 55% ish overall, so not too bad. It's got that cushion there. So if for example, the 18-year property cycle does happen, and then there is a crash in like 2024, then at least I'm covered either way. But it shouldn't really matter, because I'm renting mine out anyway on the guarantee rent scheme, so it won't really affect me. It's only going to affect you if you sell or if you're doing flipping. But if you're not doing any of those kind of things, then if there is a crash or a correction in 2 years' time, according to the property cycle, then it should be all right going forward, really.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jason. I was just going to ask you. So I've never used Kensington before, and I was buying something, 58-year lease, and the broker said, "Oh, let's try Kensington," and we did, but I had to say to the broker, "Do you know what? No, and never again," because um, so their instructions to the surveyor was a value to, for the surveyor to value the property on a 180-day basis. Um, when the surveyor did the valuation, he came back with a 180-day, but also put the 90-day there. I don't know who asked him to do that, but he did. And when they then were wanting to make me an offer, they wanted to make it on a 90-day basis. So I said, well, actually, your initial instructions were on a 180-day basis. Why would you, want to use a 90-day? Anyway, so I just said to my broker, I said, no, and never again. I don't know what your experience has been with them. Have you
Um,
actually used them?
yeah. Just
And
on a product switch with them recently. They gave me like a 2.99% product switch fee. So not too bad. But yeah, they seemed all right. With as you know, with some lenders, with them, it was fine. They done the survey, but I didn't receive anything about the 90-day or 180-day valuation. They just done normal survey. I mean, I got sent a copy of it. Yeah, there were no issues with them. There were no issues going forward. But what with NatWest, for example, they're a bit different to the rest of them. Because my partner's going through a short lease one now, of 66 years. And what they do, um, with all the other lenders, I like to have my application, mortgage application, a copy of that. I like to have a copy of the survey sent to me as well, just so I can gauge things, how things work out going forward, etc., etc. I like to have all of that documentation there stored. With NatWest, when they do a survey, they don't give you a copy of the survey. They keep it to themselves for some reason. And even the mortgage offer was given to my partner recently, because she's done a short lease one. And they even then they didn't give her a copy of the survey. So they like to keep that separate for some reason. I don't know why, but it's like just different rules. But yeah,
mm,
it's mainly buy-to-let mortgages. I know you like to do variable rates, right? Yourself. So me, I like to do 2-year fixed, but you like to do variable rates with your short leases,
yeah,
right?
because don't know if I'm going to want to sell. And then, yeah, yeah. I love the variable rates. I have some on 2 years. Um, some of them, you're not going to flip no matter the price. So those ones I'm happy to put on to fixed rates, but generally I'm all for variable rates. I just love that flexibility.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. So with your ones, you're gonna rent them out afterwards. So you can obviously put it onto a variable rate. You're gonna refurb it. I've seen some of the pictures on Instagram actually of your project, like latest project. So you're gonna obviously do it up and rent it out afterwards, or you're gonna flip it, or what's your plan?
I never know. I never ever know, because when I go into it, I always have like my three exit strategies, and at the end, I might think, okay, I'm going to sell or I'm going to rent. Those ones would have been on the variable rate in any event. But if I'm definitely going to be renting out, then they would be most likely on a 2-year fixed. Um, but I think in the main, probably the ones that I've just bought, I don't think I'm going to sell them. I think I'm just going to keep hold of them because they are absolutely superb and amazing. But who knows? I might wake up tomorrow and think, nah, I'm going to sell that one. I'm not wedded to any of my properties in terms of, shall I sell, shall I not sell? Because I know that people say, I wish I hadn't sold because it's now worth so much. But you see, when I sell, I'm reinvesting that money immediately. So, I don't have those problems. Um, but do you know what I was also going to? So the NatWest, I was going to ask you about NatWest actually. So your partner is going through with NatWest, because I was, when you said they go down to 40 years, I thought no, 30 years. Sorry, I
Yeah,
thought,
30.
wow.
Yeah.
I thought, I wonder if they only then will look at prime central London properties. Is that the case with your partner? Is what she is the property that she is doing with them, is that in prime central London? Because there are certain estates in like the Cadogan estate, the Grosvenor estate, where lenders have special rules for those particular estates, and they have, again, like, their bog standard rules for all the rest of us. So do you know if NatWest, if their mortgages going down to 30 years are restricted to those types of estates, or are they just standard ones?
Well, as far as I know, this one's in Greater London, like in North London. So this one was 66 years left on it, so it's not too bad. I know I can send you something afterwards actually, because my broker made an inquiry to them, and this was for one that was like 47 years, and the underwriter, yeah, they came back and said, well, they say that the rules are that it's a minimum of 30 years regardless, but we'll look at each case individually and blah blah blah. So I don't think it's just restricted just to central London. But like Ricky going, what he's doing one now actually, but this one's uninhabitable. That's why he didn't get a bridge, get him a buy to let lender actually. But he's going through bridging. But yeah, no. I think it allows you to do anyone's, whether it's central London in the square mile or on the outskirts, etc., etc. But their criteria is quite strong, quite rigid. So yeah, it's quite rigid because I was hoping someone, which is off the topic now, I was hoping someone buy in Doncaster, yeah. And then what happened is, went to go and view the property in Doncaster, one of my mentees, found this nice property, tenant looked after it, decorated, tiled herself, like she's looked after it properly, like really nice. And then went for the mortgage with NatWest. A normal, this is a house by the way, 3-bedroom house, freehold house. And then the surveyor came back and said, oh, because it's on or near a B road and the town centre is about 30 minutes away or 25 minutes away, we can't give you a mortgage on it. But everything else was fine. The property itself was fine. Then went for another one, Doncaster. This one was just outside of a flood zone. With all these strong winds and storms and global warming and so forth. Like the last storm we had, some properties got flooded around the country. So look out for that in terms of flood zones. But this one was just on the edge of a flood zone, which was fine. Again, similar style property. It wasn't on an A road or a B road or anything like that. The town centre was about 15 minutes away. And that one, he got a mortgage for, and that property was not much different to the other one that we looked at. So I reckon it depends on the surveyor, and you know what I mean, because NatWest are a bit funny, but they will give you a mortgage. But I don't know, their criteria is different. But back to your original question, yeah, the lease length, ones that we're getting can be worked inside the square mile and probably outside the square mile, but the ones we're doing are outside the square mile. So I can't fully say yes or no to them ones. But like you said, the Grosvenor estate, it can only extend to 20 years or 25 years, isn't it? And the Queen's lease extension family, isn't it?
I know they're different, aren't they?
Mm.
Okay, great stuff. That NatWest are kind of like broadening their horizons. But do they have like strict income criteria? Do you have to be earning a minimum of? With most of the banks, it's usually 20 or 25,000 pounds per annum. Are they one of those? That is because a lot of people, Jason, I don't know if you find this, but lots of people coming into property, for the first time, are not too enamored by the Kensingtons and the Land Bays, and even though they're quite good, and seasoned investors know them, and they're happy to borrow from them. But new people might be thinking, oh, I've never heard of that one before. But NatWest, everyone in the UK has heard NatWest before, so I can just assume that people will be happy to borrow from them. But do they have like income requirements, minimum income requirements? Do you know?
Yeah, this one, the minimum is 25,000 a year, and that's as far as I know at the moment. Yeah, 25k a year, and then you can obviously apply for a buy-to-let mortgage with them.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there you are. So people have got lots of choices now. West One, ooh, do you do now? West One had a bit of a reputation during the last downturn, and repossessed quite a lot. It was the bridging arm, wasn't it, of Lloyd's, I think.
yeah,
Have you used them? Do you like them? Do you? I have no experience of
yeah,
them.
same here.
Only what people have said. But
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, no, West One I haven't used. I haven't used Bank of India. Um, yeah, those are ones that I haven't used. They come up on my searches with my broker, and because I picked the criteria, but I haven't actually used them before. So I've just stuck to the ones that I've known, which like Keystone, a mortgage lender, Kensington, Foundation Home Loans, Land Bay. I haven't used either. Capital Home Loans I have, but them I haven't used, but they come up on my search list because I picked their criteria basically.
Yeah, Land Bay is actually quite good. I like them. I've got a
Mm.
few with Land Bay. Their fees are on the high side, but it's very simple to deal with them. And I guess I pay a premium really for simplicity. I love simple, especially when it has anything to do with figures, which I hate.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, Land Bay, all right. They come from like a crowd funding platform, isn't it? Like Mark Lloyd's
Yeah,
set
they
up.
they used to be mainly in bridging. I tell you another one that's really really good. Lend Invest. Lend Invest. I think they have a minimum number of years for their short leases, but as a lender, really really good. I love the small lenders where you can literally pick up the phone and speak to the underwriter. I just love them, and that
Yeah,
really is
exactly.
is Lend Invest, because it's more personal. It's not the computer says no or the computer says yes. You can actually talk to them about what you're doing, and that's really good. Do you know, Jason, it's been fascinating. You owe me a room. We must do a
Yeah,
room. I
definitely, definitely on short leases and so
um
forth, and renting
yeah, and
because I like renting for cash flow.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
'cause obviously we're doing short leases, but my main goal when I first started out was to have regular cash flow coming in. I'm used to being employed. I mean, I like that. I don't know, not security, but I like that consistency of having income coming in every month by a certain date. So I love the cash flow coming in. I mean, we do one about that as well. I mean,
Yeah,
setting
cool.
targets. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that would be great. I think I'm more of a capital person. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I like to keep flexible at at this time of my life. Still loving what I'm doing, but not wedded to anything at all. But we really, I'm so looking forward to it. We will do it. Let's definitely kind of like link up in the background and choose a time, choose a day, and we can just rip it all to bits and build it up again. Or do you know what? Come into my room. UK Property Secrets. I do Thursdays. Maybe we can do it on one of those. No, we only have an hour for that, so that might not be enough. Do you know what? We'll sort it out. Anyway,
That's fine. Yeah.
so you've spoken about, you just mentioned very, very briefly that you have a mentee up in that you were helping up in Doncaster. So clearly you offer mentorship services. What other services do you offer people so that when people are listening to this, they know what they can come to you about? So, tell us, please, Jason.
Yeah. No. So basically, um, normal guy. You know me already. Just simple. Just started off in a supermarket. 11 years in Sainsbury's, and then crossed over into the teaching profession, like teaching maths. So a lot of people I meet come to me or mention it in passing and say, "Oh, I want to leave my job. I don't like my manager anymore, or I've been furloughed recently, or I've been made redundant, etc., etc." All these problems or issues or concerns that I've been through myself. Because back in like 2004, I think it was, or something like that, we were overstaffed in terms of like maths teachers when they came in and said, "Oh, one of us is going to have to go." In terms of like teaching, overstaffed, government cuts, etc., etc. So, but that time I was still living at home, so it was fine. One of my colleagues, he was a main breadwinner in his family. Just had a baby. Just bought a new car. Just bought a new house. His missus doesn't work. Like, she's a housewife. So I thought, wait a minute, if he loses his job, then he's finished. Like, there's no hope. But luckily, if I get made redundant, and I'm alright, I got mum and dad like to stay at home with, so I'm fine. I thought I need some form of financial security. That's when I started to push the cash flow and buying properties per month. Then a lot of people were in the same sort of position, that want to leave their job or at least have something on the side, or they haven't got a big pension pot coming up. And even if they do, some of the companies might even try and fleece them, because you get companies like Topshop and BHS that went under with 500 million pension deficit. So they've wasted some of their money. And so Philip Green's off in France, Monaco, Saint Tropez, wherever it is, enjoying life. So I have to be careful. It's good if you can get your financial security or your financial future in your own hands. This is where the property comes in. Obviously, you can do crypto, you can do stocks and shares, you can do property, you can do a mixture of a three or four. So I like to help people to try and, I don't know, try and get them on the right path in terms of either leaving their job, or at least having property alongside their full-time employment or part-time employment, and they can put up their portfolio on the side, and then eventually have a chance to leave work or have the option of leaving work if they want to, going forward. So I just help people in that sense. Like I do like 1 hour Zoom calls with them, obviously paid. I do like full mentoring programs as well in terms of my specialist area. But I always tell them first, look at all of the free resources out there. You got Instagram, YouTube, um, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., etc. Talk to people, listen to podcasts, do as much free research information as you can, um, to try and start you off on your own journey. Because no one didn't really give me any assistance when I was younger, apart from one guy for like 2-3 months, gave me some guidance. But apart from that, I've just done it all myself. So look at all of the free material first. And if you need some assistance and some help and some guidance, or not confident enough, then you come to people like myself and other trainers or coaches. And then we can help you and guide you in that sense. So it could be on an ad hoc basis where you might bring a short lease deal to me. I had two clients last week, one in West London and the other one, where was he, down in Croydon. They found 2 short lease properties, so we spent an hour on the phone. I assess the deal, look at all of the figures, etc., see if it stacks up or not. Give access to my team, use extension surveyor, my broker if they need it, and my solicitor. I mean, they can make an informed decision whether to move forward or not. In that sense, then there's the other full mentoring program where you can hold your hand, and basically it's like I'm buying the property on their behalf, where we just walk through the whole thing together, and then obviously after that they can either do it themselves. The second one or third one will come back to me. It's up to them. But those are the 2 main programs available. So if anyone wants any information on that, they can just DM me afterwards or click on my face, send me a message via Instagram, and then I can send you over some of the rates. But it's more about helping people to just try and be more financially secure. It's up to them if they want to leave their full-time job or not. Just hold on, just to move forward. Because I started off with flats. My main aim was to replace my full-time income, because I couldn't afford the houses. Houses are quite expensive. So as you probably heard the story before, just started off with just flats first of all. I think the first one was made about £600 a month, £550, £600 a month. I gave it to the council under the guarantee rent scheme. That one I've still got with them actually, like 21 years later, still paying me no void periods over that period of time. And I bought another 4, actually 3 while living at home. And then by the time I got to my 4th one, it's roughly about over £2,000 a month, 2,200 a month income coming in. So I matched my full-time wages just from buying that 4 flats. And then I was thinking, I have the option of retiring or not working. But I just kept on going, still young, and I moved out of home, kept on buying, and then I could double my wages, triple my wages, quadruple my wages. And then staff members are like, oh, what are you still doing here? Just working for fun, just to keep busy. Otherwise, you get bored. You can go gym 5 times a week, but I just want to keep busy. So then eventually I just left and still do a bit of private tuition just to keep busy, go gym 5 times a week. But I want to help people to try and get that same system and momentum in place so they can have the option of just working for fun or having like a lot of the freedom of time. So that's why I could have started it. Plus a new level of fulfillment as well. Because after a while, because you've been doing it for so long, like 20 years, 21 years, you're thinking, every deal is not really a challenge anymore because I know exactly what to do. So at least with the mentoring, you kind of help individuals. It's a new focus. Plus got like a teaching background as well. So I know about Ofsted and writing lesson plans and schemes of work and et cetera. So I thought that would tie in nicely with me helping individuals like progress in their journey. I know the property game in my sector inside out. So I thought I'll just try and share that knowledge and then pass it on to others just so they can hopefully be like financially free one day. So that's what I've been doing lately in that sense.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Absolutely superb. So, people, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you know how to get in touch with Jason if you're interested in this. And you speak to him, have an hour's call with him because he might be able to just help you. So, Jason, thank you very, very much for doing this with me.